Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you may be on the planet. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lenea, and you are tuned into the Feminine Mind. Thank you all very much for those of you who watched the first video in the Orisha Explained series. And I'm here today with a second video, which, as I mentioned in the previous video, I had no idea that I would have to take the time to go through a series of videos. But following yesterday's conversation and a conversation I had with Eugenia behind the scenes, I realized that there are a few things that I may be taking for granted that people know, and also things that people are taking for granted that they know. And so I hope everyone is well. I hope you've been having a wonderful Friday, wherever you may be on the planet. Today, I am here specifically. It's going to be a short video. I always say that, but this will be a short video. I am here to speak about the initiations. One second. The initiations of the Orisha ceremony. So I know that if someone isn't used to or around someone who is an Orisha devotee or an Orisha practitioner, they may not understand, well, what is this Orisha ceremony? I just feel like my internet has gone really low. Let me just check it. I hope it, usually if I see the internet signal, it means it's not great. So I hope it resolves itself. So yesterday I explained how I came across this system called IFA. I explained some basic fundamental things about the system, which is that it's from Nigeria, which is that it comes from the Yoruba people, which is that it's very popular in Cuba and now across America. I just explained a few things about you having divinations, which are readings essentially, with the priests or priestesses. And I had some people in the comments who were giving their feedback as well. And I think I definitely realized today that I don't know if I've overspoken already or if I haven't said enough, but this is going to take me a few videos to unpack, because I understand that for someone who isn't from Orisha devotion or who hasn't done any Ifa divination or offerings, it might just sound like, well, what are you talking about? But what I'd like to start with is that yesterday I did explain that within this system, the Orisha are essentially worshipped. Like the ancestors are one of the Orisha, the Egungun. But I also was very clear because, to be honest, I'm doing these videos with a deep intent. I'm not just looking for random topics to talk about, seriously. So I did explain that the Orisha are actually demonic entities. What I didn't explain, which I want to touch on now, is that in my experience, most of the people who are practicing Ifa do not know. Do you understand? Like there's a bit of a hoax going on. They know that the Orisha are supernatural beings. So within the cosmology, you have a most high. So today I was wondering, well, is this a polytheistic tradition or a monotheistic tradition? Because no one thinks who is actually practicing Orisha devotion or Ifa, no one thinks that the Orisha are the most high. In fact, they are portrayed as delegates of the most high in a similar way to how within Christianity or scripture-based traditions, you have the most high and then you have angels. Do you get what I'm saying? So the Orisha are not viewed as necessarily being gods, which is a British word. The Orisha are viewed as being delegates that occur within various sources of nature. So you'll have Orisha that are about, they represent or they embody, or you find them in the mountains, those who belong to the forest, those who belong to the ocean, those who belong to the rivers. There are a vast array of Orisha. Now, in the previous series that I did, the African Yoga Hoax, I did explain pantheons. Pantheons is where you have a group of divinities or deities, and they have different personalities, different genders, different characters. They have different colors, different numbers. The Ifa pantheon, the Yoruba system, is pretty much the same thing in that you have differences in these Orisha, and they are not perceived to be the Most High. In that tradition, the name of the Most High is actually Olodumare. However, when people go for divination, they're not hearing from Olodumare. The divination is actually one Orisha or another. In the Ifa system is the Orisha called Orumila or Ifa, who speaks to the person through this reading. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, you have different forms of practitioners. You have people who work with shells. They may have messages that come from, say, Oshun, or Yamoja. But Ifa is like the farther trunk of quite a vast system. And within this, it is never thought that Ifa is the most high. And I think I will need other videos to really just speak specifically about, not from an academic point of view, but from my experience and what I learned. There are very strong similarities between the Cuban Western systems and the Nigerian systems, but they are essentially practiced and approached differently. For example, in the Cuban system, you are discouraged when it comes to praying to the Most High. You are told, keep your prayers towards the Orisha, whereas in the Nigerian system, it is encouraged to pray to the Most High. Another thing that I must mention before I go into this initiation information is that, very much like the different paths of yoga, it's not a one stroke for every organization, every unit, every house. So in Cuba, one house, one group of Orisha devotees may have rules that this is how they do things, where in the other house, they could have completely different rules. And this is the case for Ifa all over the planet. But one thing that is definitely universal when it comes to Ifa is the Ebo. So whenever you go to have a reading, whatever comes up, you are told to make an Ebo. And an Ebo is essentially where your priest or a range of priestesses will give a range of animals as offerings, as sacrifices. This is the most universal thing, I would say, from one house to another. If it's true, legitimate Ifa, because you do have, let me take my name off. You do have, like, how do I say this? When I was an Ifa practitioner, that was the standard, and anything that wasn't saying that wasn't legitimate. I also want to mention that online, many of you may have experienced, or maybe you haven't, where people will come into your inbox and be like, the ancestors sent me to you. This is something that has become quite popular when it comes to Ifa and Orisha worship, but I don't come from a path like that. And I also don't recommend that anyone listen to anyone online, because essentially, when I was practicing, I would have priests come and say, the ancestors said, and I would wonder, well, how come you don't already know that I'm involved? Do you get what I'm saying? So that may just be a bit of a scam African thing, scam African in reference to Dr. Umar and the Pan-African thing. But basically, that's like online scamming. So first and foremost, I would like to clarify, the Orisha are supernatural beings, okay? They are not the Most High, and they are worshipped and revered. Most of the people who are working with Orisha do not know that they are demons. Most people who are, if you're a casual participator in the tradition, there are a lot of things you may not know. And even for those people who have gone through initiation, many of those people have no clue what they've actually accepted into their body. So yesterday I explained, in the initiation, or in Ifa, initiations are recommended for many people. At some point within your reading, you will hear, oh, Ifa says you should get initiated. And usually, well, within the Cuban system, you would become initiated with whoever they have divined and clarified, this is your Orisha. Because in the Cuban system, you can only have one main Orisha. So if it was told to you, Oshun, Obatala, Ilegwa is your Orisha. When you are initiating, you are going through, I think it's an 8-day ceremony where essentially you're going through the process of merging your blood, your spirit, your soul, your heart, and your mind with that spirit. Okay? Ifa is a practical working tradition. So it's not necessarily a tradition where people just sit down and say, oh, I believe this, I believe that. It's very practical. There are things you have to do. If you don't have a Orisha, you have to make divination and Ebo. If you have a Orisha, you have to take care of the Orisha. That can include giving offerings to those Orishas, food offerings, rum offerings, smoke offerings on specific days of the week. In the Nigerian system, they're on a 4-day week. So every 4 days, you do it's something you work, it's something you do. It's very practical. It is very hands-on. I'm just a little bit concerned about the Wi-Fi, but I'm going to keep going. Ask the Almighty to strengthen it. Because I have a router behind me, but I just turned it on shortly before I came live. And my daughter was saying, hey, it's not on. So I'm not sure. Let me just see. It's saying that it's connected. I'm like, it's saying that it's connected. Do let me know if the internet is playing up. If it is, I could actually just come back on and check everything and, start again. So I said a lot of strong things in the first video. If you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it. And I want to clarify, which I did say, I don't hate Ifa practitioners. And as someone who myself, I have brought many people to the foot of the Orisha. I've even brought people to the stage where they were initiated. I know for a fact that these people, including myself, most of them, most of them, they genuinely thought that traditional Yoruba spirituality was a genuine, authentic, ancestral practice that was sacred, that was legitimate. They may not know to this day that these are demonic entities. And that's important because I know that, sometimes when you're on the outside of something, you can get this like, hey, you're wicked and you're doing wickedness, which is what I spoke to Eugenia about today. But it's actually quite nuanced and it's much more deeper than that. Where there are some people, either because it's been in their family for generations upon generations, or because of the region where they were raised, some people are fully aware that these are dangerous demons. So if you know someone who is involved with it, you don't have to be afraid of that person. You don't have to think, oh my gosh, you were telling me it was something legit when it isn't. You probably are best off assuming, I'm not one to assume, but you're probably best off starting with the stance of this person doesn't actually know what is going on. So the name of this video, the Orisha explained initiation, possession, and hybrid. So I'll talk about the possession first. When I started to practice Ifa, my priest recommended that I attend several tambors. He was a Cuban priest, and so they had these drumming ceremonies that were dedicated to specific Orisha. The drumming patterns weren't just random, like, oh, I feel like doing this or I feel like doing that. The drumming patterns were specific, melodic, percussive prayers to the specific Orisha that was being revered. And during those sessions, people could become what they would say in the Cuban tradition, mounted. Now, in layman's terms, mounted actually speaks to when the Orisha that is being drummed for, that's being prayed for, they probably had some sacrifices made earlier on in the day. They have a whole throne set up, like beautiful fabrics and fruits and foods and gin and stuff like that. When this drumming ceremony is taking place, they are actually calling in this spirit. And what can happen as a result of this calling in, dancing, working up a fervor, playing their specific prayers and melodies is that, and also what many people want to happen to them, right, is for that Orisha, that spirit, to mount the person. The Orisha will mount the person, mount them physically, mount that, yeah, like mount, like you mount a horse, right? They will mount the person, mount them physically, and that person will become possessed with that Orisha. That person will start acting with the characteristics of the specific Orisha. So, because I'm from Jamaica, I always say this, you see, because I'm from Jamaica, I just wasn't open to certain things. So I've been to the tambours, but I was not interested in being mounted. And also, I remember once I was in a tambour, I felt like a bit lightheaded and I was resistant. Like, no, we're not doing possession. I've never been possessed. But I have seen people being possessed by Orisha. I have seen a man, okay, a man being possessed by a female Orisha. And in his possession, he started acting very effeminate and, swishing his trousers like it was a skirt. And once the congregation or the community realize, oh my gosh, he's been possessed, then they run and they go and get the clothes that Orisha would wear. And so the man was dressed in skirts because he had been mounted by Yamoja, known as Yamaya, who is a female river/ocean divinity, goddess, Orisha, because they're not gods or goddesses, they're Orisha, okay? And so he ended up becoming so effeminate. He was talking in a certain way and behaving in a certain way. And for me, seeing that was pretty shocking. I've seen women being mounted or possessed by male Orisha. And then they become, a lot more coarse and gruff and not as feminine. And they want to smoke cigars. And then they go around to the different people. Now, within the tradition, this is, I don't know about the Nigerian part, but within the Cuban tradition of Ifa, this is celebrated. This is wanted so much to the point that I went to one of these tambours once, and this lady had been mounted with her main Orisha, who is Obatala, and some of the other people didn't believe it. Like some of the die-hard Orisha practitioners were like, oh, she's just doing that to get attention, basically. So that's how much it is wanted and desired. So within this tradition, being possessed by spirits is not only commonplace, it is celebrated. The environments are set to create the perfect environment to allow this to happen. People are wanting to be taken over by supernatural beings. And obviously, as I said, most of those people aren't aware that these supernatural beings are essentially demonic, because unless you're just straight up a Satanist, right, you wouldn't be trying to get possessed by anything. Like, no one's trying to get possessed, okay? You know what I mean? Like, no one's, in my world at least, because I know this world is diverse, no one is trying to do that. But in this Ifa tradition, this is the first step to a deeper connection with these entities. Now, in the initiation, I mentioned yesterday, I've actually come because I did find a document speaking about someone's initiation. I don't think this is the exact document that I came across a couple of years ago, which is when I discovered that as a part of the Orisha initiation, people are consuming uncooked animal blood. Okay. And I know the lady who was here yesterday, she was like, what? And she is an Ifa practitioner. I think that most people, unless they have been initiated themselves, they wouldn't know this, because the level of secrecy that is around the initiation is not normal. There is a lot of secrecy, and that is because it's essentially a mystery path, It's a mystery path, it's a mystery school. If you just come out of the bat at the beginning of someone's Orisha journey and you say, this is what it leads to, or the person doing the divination had to drink blood, most people are going to run. So I do understand. I thought about it, and I understand that part of the reason why it makes sense that they would be drinking the blood is because when you have an initiation, you become one with this entity, with this spirit. And these spirits, before you come one with them, they're already asking for blood. They ask for blood. That's what they want. So obviously, when they become morphed into your body, your spirit, your soul, I think that the taking on of the blood is you feeding that being in the same way how you would feed them if you weren't initiated, but now they're inside of you. And obviously, I was never initiated. So I don't really know if this is something that the Orisha practitioner has to do every now and then. But to me, I'm sorry, to me, it would be very likely, this is an opinion, but because you have to always give offerings to Orisha, refresh your Orisha, keep giving, not just food, but blood, it would make sense to me that you would need to keep doing it. Even the ilekes, which are you might see some people wearing these, I don't think I have it here. They wear these necklaces that are made of different color beads. Each different necklace essentially belongs to a different Orisha. Even those necklaces, they do need to be charged up from time to time, and they can be charged up using a herbal solution that is made, which I don't know, but it's very likely that there would be blood in that herbal solution, and they can be charged up just with blood. So this is the kind of system. You can see the guy's necklaces, right? This is the kind of system that has become so popular in the mainstream. People are seeing people with their ilekes, seeing people with their, their blood covered things, not knowing. And an example of that is a group that I didn't mention yesterday. It's the girl group who are called Oshun. Let me show you the ilekes that I had. Yeah, because what I'm saying is not a book smart thing, it's a personal experience. So the picture with me on the left, that's me with my ilekes. I have about 5 on. The yellow one belongs to Oshun, the blue and white Yamoja, the green and orange is Ifa, and the white one was Obatala. It looks like I didn't have on the red and black one, which is Ilegua. So these chains aren't just, they're not adornments. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're definitely not adornments. These chains are essentially spiritual talismans that carry the energy of these Orisha, and these chains are catered to periodically. You have to charge them up. You have to treat them as you would the Orisha. You have to spiritually cleanse them, which is not like dipping them in lavender. It's not like mainstream stuff. In Ifa, there's a lot of work with herbs, with roots, which is interesting because, like in America, there's this thing called root work. Ifa is definitely a mixture of root work and demonic interaction, or Orisha interaction. Everything's going on. Do you get what I'm saying? So I just want to mention, I'm going to read a document. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read part of it. I will eventually, after this video, go into the YouTube description and put this document there for anyone who wants to read it for themselves. The reason for this is because when you go into an initiation, all of the stories that I heard, I didn't never hear about someone who started being initiated and ran out of the ceremony. Meaning, once you start that process, you're going through with it. And one might wonder, as I was wondering yesterday, well, why do people still go through with it when they realize this is really what's going to happen, or this is what I have to do? And there are many reasons for that. One, similarly to being mounted, being initiated is like the creme de la creme of Orisha worship. In Nigeria, one can do many things without being initiated. But Cuba, there's a classist system within the system, meaning people who are initiated are given a lot more respect than people who aren't. Not that people aren't being respected generally, but there is a hierarchy. Do you get what I'm saying? If there's a group of people there and they're all going to give offerings to the Orisha, the people who are initiated go first. In the Cuban system, being initiated is coveted. People want to be initiated. When they get initiated, they end up with like 5 Orisha, or Batala, Oshun, Legua, Yamoja. So even if you initiated to one Orisha, you're going to go home with a bag of idols, a bag of icons that are portals to these demons. That was demons is deities and demons mixed into one. And so, even the journey that would lead to you to start to prepare for an initiation, no one is going to do that overnight unless they were told that they have some serious illness and this will help them. I also want to mention that yesterday I say that Orishas don't provide healing. This isn't categorically true. The Orisha can provide healing. For example, some people have been initiated because they've got terminal illnesses or HIV or cancer, and they're told, initiate and we will save your life. This even happens to children. Within Cuba, you see a lot of children who have just been initiated. So one might wonder, well, if they can provide healing, what's the issue? The Orisha, even within the Ifa pantheon, they are not the Most High. So anything that they can provide, the Most High can provide more. However, when you go to an initiation, you go into a blood pact, you go into a spiritual covenant. People can go into covenants without initiations. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't need an initiation to have a covenant with anything. But when you go into the initiation, you go in human, you come out part human, part Orisha. You lose some of your humanity. Humans are the guardians of this planet, not spirits and not demons. Part of the teaching within Ifa is that the ancestral spirits take care of the planet. The Most High takes care of the planet. So, oftentimes, I'll give you an example. A woman may have been plagued by a demon, and that demon could take away her ability to procreate, that Orisha, okay? Just so that she has to go to the Orisha to make offerings or to initiate so she can procreate. Many times in modern society, people are told things like, oh, you'll never be able to have children, or your child won't live past this age. And we all know that many, many people have surpassed all medical expectations that were placed on them. So, because the Orisha are supernatural beings, they can give, they can create shifts in your health. But what you're giving up is a part of your own divinity, and you're making a trade. It's like, I know they say people can't sell their soul, but if you're doing initiations, you're definitely doing a soul trade. They want something from you. Orisha do not exist unless people give blood to them. Do you understand? Like, they need people to keep pouring into them for them to thrive. A perfect example of this is if you have a problem and you have a reading, the reason why you have to give blood, they cannot help you without it, right? So they need the blood as fuel to be able to work their energy in one way or another. So if everyone essentially ignored them, they would die a swift death. It is through the ongoing practicing of this system that they are revived and are, they wouldn't exist literally. They would just dissipate. So it's just another one of those like best kept secrets. And I understand because we come from a culture globally where everything that comes from Africa is looked at as satanic. That is not where I'm coming from. I categorically do not believe that. I am not colonized in my mindset in that way. Do you get what I'm saying? I wasn't with the Europeans when they went to Africa and everything that they saw, they said, oh, they're heathens. It's not that. Another thing is, even though there is witchcraft within some parts of Ifa is not actually witchcraft. Ifa is demon worship. And there is a difference. Someone can be practicing witchcraft and not actually have a conscious, communicable exchange relationship with a specified categorized spirit. Do you understand? Like many things are witchcraft. Watching corn is witchcraft. There are many things that we do in society that fall under, oh, that's witchcraft, you know. Do you get what I'm saying? Even reading horoscopes, following astrology, witchcraft. But this is more advanced than this is simple witchcraft. This is a sophisticated ancestral system that is older than the Yoruba people. It obviously, the way it's brought to us within modern society, it comes from the Yoruba people of Nigeria. These deities and this system is older. It goes way back. And the proof of that is if you look into older cultures and civilizations within the African continent, you will find very similar, not only systems, but even the stories that they have about many of the deities, divinities. They may not be called Orisha, but they're the same. They're supernatural. One of them was caught sleeping with his mother. Like there's the same stories being repeated all over the continent and all over the world because this planet has a vast history. And I remember when Eugenia was here, she was talking about the Celtics, the Vikings. These are all people who had their own set of deities and they all gave blood. Do you understand? It's not a racial thing, it's a cultural thing. It's not a racial thing. Okay? So, okay, let me bring up this document. I don't think I have the document here, but I haven't figured out. I don't know if I should try it now, but I haven't figured out how to bring, is it this? I haven't figured out basically how to bring the document on my screen. I think I deleted something and that's why now I can't even attempt it. Let me see. No, okay, it's not working. Prior to going into that, I would like to bring up what value does the engraved image have that its maker has engraved it, the molten image, even the teacher of lies, that he who fashions its form trusts in it to make mute idols? Woe to him who says to the wood, awake, or to the mute stone, arise. Shall this teach? Behold, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all within it, but Yahuah is in his holy temple. You shall have no other gods, Elohim, before me. You shall not make for yourselves an idol, nor any image of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow yourself down to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuah, your God, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and on the fourth generation of those who hate me, and showing loving kindness to the thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. When you work with these kind of systems, you become cursed by the Most High. But the saddest thing is, the curse surpasses you and your life. It goes to the third and fourth generations of your families. Many of us in this generation had immediate ancestors in the last 3 to 4 generations that worked all forms of iniquity, that worshipped idols, and we, unknown to us, have experienced a lot of curses, and we don't even realize it's not even something that we did. Let me show you that again. I am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and on the fourth generation of those who hate me, and showing loving kindness to the thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. As a Jamaican woman, I can say there is definitely different forms of these traditional spiritual systems, including Ifa, in Jamaica that has come over with those who were taken through the Middle Passage. There is definitely idol worship in Jamaica. There is the broader path, which is Obia, which Obia is different in that even though Ifa is Obia, Ifa is an organized, rule-based system. It's not like, oh, I'm over here doing this and I can do what I want. I'm over here. It's not that. Do you get what I'm saying? Even if there are differences from one group to another, there are always fundamental consistencies, and people are always working with Ifa. Do you get what I'm saying? When I started to work with the Cuban priest, he told me that I needed to be scratched. Just remember this. He said you need to be initiated, but prior to being initiated, you need to be scratched. When I asked, well, what is that? What's this scratching thing? He said, this is not Ifa. You need to be scratched in a separate ancestral spiritual tradition that is known in Cuba called Paulo Mayembe or Palo Santo. So Cuba is the place where it's not just one African traditional spiritual system that's happening. There are many due to their history, due to the kind of colonization that they had. Different things happened in Cuba to other parts of the Caribbean. So I was supposed to be scratched in one system, and you know what that is? That again is when you're cut and some ancestral essence is put into your blood. That is binding me with some kind of spirit. And then I was supposed to come over to the Ifa traditional system and be initiated with an Orisha called Chango. Another group that I knew, the Cuban group, they were saying to me, in their group, in their family, how they do things, I would have to get baptized first. Now, this threw me. So, again, specifically in Cuba, there are many different rules, even though they all have consistencies. And in some houses known as Iles, you have to go through a Christian or Catholic baptism, then you go to the Orisha. So there's a big dabble there. And that's because part of the Cuban existence of Ifa is that there was syncretization happening where they syncretized the Orisha, meaning hid one thing within another. They syncretized the Orisha in the saints. So like Saint Barbara would be Chango, for example. In the Nigerian system, there is no reason for someone to go through Christianity or baptism. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a lot more straightforward. And that reflects the historical climate, the historical circumstances of Nigeria. So, yeah, with no further ado, I did say this video is going to be short. I'm going to prove to you something that I mentioned yesterday. Yesterday, I mentioned that at some point when I had left Ifa, I was guided to go online and to look for Eugenia. Well, go on, Eugenia. Is that the Yes, that is the Santeria. That is the Santeria. But the truth be told, I am sure that even within, because just so you know, good question. Santeria and Ifa are not exactly the same thing, but I was told they are two hands that you need to wash the one face. The reason for this is Santeria is when people become priests and priestesses of a specific group of Orisha. And Ifa, if you're an Ifa priest, you may have become crowned at some point of one of like Oshun, Yamoja, Olokun, yeah. An Ifa priest is crowned with Ifa. That is the Orisha that speaks through the divination table. In the Cuban system, women cannot become Ifa priests. So in the Cuban system, women would be any other Orisha basically, but not Ifa. In the Nigerian system, women can become Ifa priests. That is the Iyanifa that I mentioned yesterday. She's a priest or priestess of Ifa. Do you get what I'm saying? So in Cuba, Santeria and Ifa coexist. For example, perfect example, I went for an Ifa reading, right? So the priest was an Ifa priest, but there was a lady there that was helping me with the whole thing that I hadn't met before. She was a priestess of Yamoja. When she's getting her readings done, she's going to Ifa. The Ifa guy, do you get what I'm saying? The Ifa Orumila. But she herself, she is a Santeria priestess. Obviously, within Nigeria, you don't have these distinctions because you're dealing with the root. That's part of the reason why because I always like to find the original things. That's one of the many reasons. One day I'll make a video just about why I moved from one to the other. But I'm essentially condemning both. Like, it doesn't really matter. Blood is blood. Demons are demons. Paganism is paganism. Idol worship is idol worship. You get what I'm saying? Like, I only remember these things now because I am starting to having to speak about it. I'm remembering so many things. Like, one of the things that keeps throwing me is, why can't I remember the male name of the Ifa priest in Nigeria? I know it means father of secrets. I think that's what Babalawo is. But I think there's another word that starts with an I. And I want to say Iyawo, but it's not Iyawo because the Iyawo is the newly initiated Orisha devotee. So the female priest is Iyanifa. So you don't have Iyanifas per se in Cuban tradition because the women they cannot divine. And that is also speaking to sexism, essentially. That's what's caused that. Like, there's no reason why the women can't go and initiate with the top. He's the top, Ifa, with him. But in the Cuban system, it's very much, it's all restricted. In the Nigerian system, you can initiate with as many Orisha as you want. You could have an initiation every year. This year I'm doing Oshun. Next year I'm doing Chango. There are people that I know that are initiated to several Orisha. It's all inside of them. In the Cuban system, the only person that would have gone through like 2 proper initiations, like on a mainstream level, would be an Ifa priest, because he may have started off as his first Orisha, like Umoja, Elegua. He'll know who his parents are. In the Cuban system, everyone has 2 parents, the male and the female. One owns your head, one owns your feet. So the Ifa priest in the Cuban system could have had an initiation with one who owns his head. But once he becomes an Ifa practitioner, priest, sorry, not practitioner, he initiates with Ifa and that's it, top. There are other rare Orishas that not many, but some people may access for one reason or another. But it's very rare to find someone in Cuba who is multi-Orisha. However, in Nigeria, there's no reason why you couldn't have 6 initiations and have 6 spirits, 6 entities. So some people are hybrid between themselves and one entity, but some people are hybrid between themselves and all 7 entities. And that's what I was being encouraged to do. And I have to give thanks and praises. Like, it's only because of the will of the Most High, like why this didn't happen. It literally is actually out of my hands. I supported other people with doing these initiations. I helped other people to get divination. I attended the tambours. I made ebos. I made sacrifices. And most importantly, I believed in this path. It's not a new age path. It's not like yoga just came to the West 60 years ago. It's an old ancestral path. These paths are all over Africa. And if you read the scriptures, you will see references to paths just like it. It's that old. It's not like it just turned up the other day. Now, Ifa itself may be quite modern, but it leans on even older divinities. We're going back to Benin. We're going back to Uganda. We're going back to Bantu people. Do you understand? So these are old paths, old demons. And this is the reason why when you do start to connect with these demons that are so old, so, pre-existing your life, your grandparents' life, it can be very hard to come out of it. It can be very hard to see things. Like for me, I'm a very objective person. So I just, whenever I saw a fishy thing, I jumped ship. That's how I ended up leaving the Cuban system, which was very incestuous. Yeah, and very gossipy. I think that's a cultural thing. I think it's an island thing. No one has no loyalty. No one has any more, not no one. A lot of people, if you want to know everyone's business, you go to an Ifa gathering, or you start hanging out with a Santeria, or that's abominable. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there are differences even that are impacting these systems culturally, but essentially, I think the differences and the similarities. The reason why I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video, because I'm not promoting Ifa. I am promoting Yah. I am promoting the Creator, the Most High, who is listed in scriptures. That's who you get what I'm saying? That's who I'm promoting. That's the only reason why I'm doing the video. Eugenia says that must be confusing, having all these deities, beings in you. Well, I don't personally know because I haven't experienced it, but I do know that my priest told me people expect when you have new openings in Ifa that you're going to go down. So when I came in, I was told, the Orisha are here to make you, not to break you. Psh! The reason why they're telling you that, because they know that your life is going to get derailed. But some hope. Maybe they truly believe it. I don't know. Because I don't know how far the rabbit hole really goes. Do you get what I'm saying? They hope that it will be derailed because it's sweeping out all the things that aren't working for you. And eventually you'll come back strong. My priest, who had many different initiations, did tell me that after one or two of those initiations, he got really down. And he was like a really young man. Do you get what I'm saying? This is not a path either where eldership is equated with someone's physical age. If I initiate at 40 and there's someone in the room that initiated at 4, they are my elder. Because the age that's being counted is not the lived human experience, but how long this human has been contaminated by this spirit. That's, another thing is I don't know if this happens in the Nigerian tradition, I can't remember, but in the Cuban system, you salute people's head because the spirit is brought into the head. So you might not like the person. I've heard this a lot, like, I don't like them, but I'm going to respect their head. I'll bless, because they're bowing to the demon in the person's head. That's how it's quite an intricate thing. And if I had known that I would have ever have come to speak about this stuff, I would have written down more stuff. Like I wrote a lot of things, but I dashed everything away. I got rid of everything in my house that was connected to Orisha, and then swiftly started to work on getting rid of everything in me that was connected to Orisha. But I'm not rejecting people. Like, I understand that people are bamboozled into worshiping fake divinities that are real demons. You know, I understand that if most people had a full, comprehensive understanding, I know people that have been on this path for years and don't fully know what is really going on. And Ifa and Orisha worship becoming more popular on a mainstream level doesn't help that, because it helps people to identify, oh, I remember those girls, Oshun. They were Orisha worshippers. Some of the Orisha worshippers who are famous is like J-Lo, Forrest Whitaker. There's a lot of them. there's a lot of them. Even that guy, remember that film Sinners? I didn't see it, but Michael B. Jordan, you see how he came? I don't know if you noticed, because I know everyone's timeline is different. But when that film Sinners came out, he came out and said that he was initiated. He's an Ifa priest. And he's been an Ifa priest since he was a child. And so people will see that and go, oh, yes, and he's in Wakanda. And forget that Wakanda is just a Marvel comic. It's not. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's a Marvel comic. And in Wakanda, they share a lot of dangerous truths as well. I've seen things in Wakanda that people think are fictitious, but I know that it's not fictitious and it's terrible. And we're just consuming it thinking, oh, yes, Wakanda forever, not knowing these are demons being taunted in your face and presented to you as if it's fiction. Another thing, I got into some African series recently, probably about a month ago. So I was watching, I can't remember, it's Kings of Johannesburg. That thing is not fiction. Like, if you go to Netflix, I watched the whole first series. I had to keep looking away whenever they brought the Umoja water goddess deity. Yeah, I was looking away because I was like, yuck. But you see, when the second series started, they started bringing in other demons from other paths of other races. And I recognized something. And I realized these people, the media, filmmakers, are making films and showing you guys supernatural stuff and making you think that you're watching something fictitious, and you're watching wretched demons that really actually exist. Anyway, that definitely has to be an argument for another time. Yeah, fire. One big fire. Okay, so this document, A Practical Guide to Afro-Caribbean Magic. I'm just going to go into the part of the chapter 3. Chapter 3 is talking about the sacrifice. Bear in mind, this is an 8-day ceremony that's taken place that is initiating this person into Satanism, and they are forming a blood, spirit, soul, mind, heart, and body connection with an Orisha. Yeah? Cool. So things would have been done. I know that one of the things that is done is they take you to the river, they wash you in the river. Lots of people, I just found out recently, their hands are all over you, all up in your pom-pom, like people you don't know necessarily. You have to get thousands of pounds worth of animals, because the whole time through there's going to be going on. You choose the stones in the river. These are going to be used to consecrate your own deities, because not only when you're initiated are you going to have a hybrid, not experiment, a hybrid surgery, a spiritual hybrid surgery performed upon you, where you going human and you leave half human, half something else. You also leave with more idols that represent. So you not only have the thing inside of you, but you now have, oh, here is the Orisha that I've been initiated with, and that has to be consecrated. you have to deal with the blood, and the icon also has to be eaten. Like everyone's eating. In Jamaica, in the scriptures, Eugenia mentioned yesterday that it's an abomination to drink blood or to eat blood. It's even an abomination to consume animals in the commandments. I think this is Leviticus. It's an abomination to consume animals that haven't had the blood drained out of them. This is part of what is behind halal, in that they don't believe that, like mainstream in the UK, animals are like electrocuted, and then all of that shock, because the animal will go into shock, right? All of that shock blood is sitting down inside the animal. So even like kosher is the same thing. It's the art of swift, as painless as possible, as humane as possible, and release. It's not just the swift, it's so it can release the blood. So growing up in Jamaica, there was no food that I ever even heard about that had blood in it. But when I came to England, to show England, man, they eat this thing called haggis, and it is like, I think it looks like a black sausage that's in a circle, but really it's blood. Did you know that? And they say if you're having like eggs and beans, like a fry up, like a, continental fry up, they slice that, and I think they fry it back or they warm it up. So it's congealed, it's dense, but it is actually blood. Pork haggis. Okay, let me read on now because I'm going to wrap this up shortly. So chapter 3 from Santeria, A Practical Guide to Afro-Caribbean Magic. I will be posting this link in the description after the video. Right after they cleaned all the stuff from my head, my babalawo started to the animals. It took hours to everything. If I could have afforded it, it would have taken all day. But who has that kind of money? Only a babalawo or an Iyaloka may. If their patron Orisha is Ogun, their rights to slaughter need only be confirmed in a brief ceremony. The children of other Orisha must have the sacrificial knife granted to them over a period of long and involved rituals and initiations by a Babalawa or Iyalocha who has Ogun as his or her patron Orisha. All the animals have to be healthy, beautiful, and fat. I spent days running around making sure that they were perfect. It's very important that everything be the way the elders did it when the Orishas are being fed. Because if the Babalawo doesn't know what he's doing and screws up the sacrifice, the asintado won't work. I'm not sure what that is. Let's have a look. This is a Cuban initiation that's going on. I tried to Google that, but it's asentado. The sacrifice won't work, let's say. It said it's linked to being highly skilled. Not only that, so listen to this. Not only will the asentado not work, but you could die, or the people that are there could get sick, or their children could get sick. Blood is very powerful. You can't fool around with it. You have to feed the Orisha. The blood gives strength to the Orisha and the novice. It made me stronger. People can't do bad work against me. I've been baptized in the all-powerful blood, the life of life. The sacrificial establishes a strong bond between the novice and the Orisha. The same benefits, I've just lost my... The same benefits extend to those who participate in the sacrifices. Okay. I just want to double check that I'm in the right chapter. The Babalawo gave me some pepper and a piece of coconut meat to chew up. I spit it back out in his hand and he smeared it on the lamb's head. Yuck. He brought the lamb close to me and I had to touch her 3 times with my forehead and rub my forehead, wait for this, and my balls on her. Bestiality. Fire. My gosh. Hold on there. Let me find back where I was. If the novice is a woman, she rubs against the animal with her breasts and her legs. The Babalao's assistants tie the animal's legs together, and it is placed on the floor on a bed of banana, guava, and poplar leaves. The Babalawa takes up the knife. He says this chant. The helpers respond in chorus as they stretch the animal's neck. And chorus, chant, chant, chant. I'm not saying the chant, 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 chant. The Babalawa stabs the animal in its jugular vein, and the fountain of blood is caught in the Orisha's tureen, which is the container. Chant, 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 chant. As he kills each animal, the Babalawa shouts, I did not kill it. Ogun, who is great, killed it, removing all guilt and responsibility for his actions. You see that? So the Babalawa is blaming the demon that he's working with. The Babalawa is blaming the demon that he's working with, yeah, for his actions. Cool. Chant, 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 chant. He cuts the lamb's head off. The Babalawa pours salt in its raw neck wound. Chant, chant, chant. The Babalawa smears Koroja butter on the bleeding neck stump. Chant, chant, chant. He smears honey on the neck. Chant. Remember that everyone's chanting, you know, so try and know that at this point you're in a straight up trance, yeah? So he smears honey on the neck. Chant, chant, chant. Then the Babalawo put the head right on my face, and I drank the blood. Bullet! Next thing. I looked up at the ceiling, and I spit all the blood up to the Orisha. The Babalawo twirls around the novice with the head and offers it to the Orishas. He places the head before the tutelary Orishas cheering, the main Orisha. The head carcass is removed by the Babalawo's helpers. They hold it up by the legs, making sure the neck stump faces the door. The Babalawo places a rooster or coconut between its rear legs. At the door, the carcass is turned to the left and to the right before taken out. If the novice's budget permits it, the sacrifice is repeated for each Orisha represented. So you're drinking from that animal's head for every single Orisha. And when in Cuba, when you do one initiation, you get 5 Orisha. Go figure. Mm-hmm. After each decapitation, a salt-filled gourd is filled with blood and set aside. It will be used to prepare the Orisha's ashe, which is the essence. Each gourd is painted with the Orisha's emblematic color. There are no gourds for a batala or for the spirits of the dead who hate salt. To clear the reek of blood from the air, the Babalawo spills a little water on the floor. Chant, 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 chant. Then she's this is a he, sorry, he has balls. Talking about the carcasses being skinned outside. Each butchered animal is presented to the Orisha who demand its death. The topmost vertebra. Oh no, hold on. The topmost vertebra is taken out of the animal's head. This bone is added to the bundle of oracular cowrie shells handed to the Yahuah, that's the initiate. It is proof that his Orisha drank the blood of a 4-legged animal. After the big animals, it's time to sacrifice the birds. The Babalawo started with the roosters I'd bought. Okay, doesn't look like. Each rooster's head is cut off with a knife. Its blood is considered more powerful than that of the lesser birds, so it's mixed with the sheep's blood in the tureen. The Babalawo offers the bleeding birds to the Orisha. And it goes through chicken, guinea hen, other, like these are because obviously they start with the big animals, and now they've gone down to the small animals. So what I'm realizing is I'm gonna have to read this whole document online. I'm not doing it now. I'm gonna have to this document, this information, yeah, is hidden from the people who are going to do this initiation. So when they invest their thousands and thousands of pounds and they tell their friends, oh, I'm going to go and get initiated. And they get all their whites because they have to wear white for the whole year following the initiation. And they get the money for all of the sacrifices. And if they're not from Cuba, or if like the UK, they had to go somewhere to another country to get initiated, they have to put down the travel fee. They have to pay for hotel for some of the days. Yeah. They don't know that, and I quote, then the Babalawa put the bloody head that's just been chopped off, right on my face, and I drank the blood. I looked up at the ceiling and spit all the blood up to the Orisha. That is what's going on at an Orisha initiation. That hasn't even touched the part where I was talking about the cutting the head bit. I just looked for that because I wanted to make sure that if I come here and say something, I can prove what I'm saying, which is that during the Orisha initiation, people are breaking the Most High's very, very serious commandment that never changes. There's been no amendment. There's been no new covenant that says, oh, and now you can drink blood. No, you can't drink blood. Cooked, fresh, congealed, no form of it in the Orisha ceremony, because you've taken in that demonic entity into your body. You become part demon. And what do the demons love? I already told you. They love blood. So on that note, I do hope that this will help those who is supposed to help. This video is not for everyone. I do hope that this will put some people off of Ifa and put them off of thinking about initiating and save their sacred, beautiful, whole selves that you were made whole. You don't need to be merged with any entity. You don't need to be merged with anything. In fact, by you doing that, you degrade the kind of being you are. I know that within Ifa, because it is respected and rewarded because it's a satanic path, then people think that they are an improvement of themselves if they go through these initiations. But the truth is, it is a barbaric initiation. That initiation is not even suitable for my dog. Because I've got dogs and they're not drinking no blood. Yeah, I'm sorry. Nope. That initiation isn't even suitable for a rat. Nope, it's not suitable. So, in contrast to the idea that says having this is good for you, having this gives you spiritual status, it gives you spiritual status within a demonic kingdom. That's where the status is. Okay? When you see Dr. Umar online being an absolute buffoon, which is he's been doing this for years, but now story come to bump and it's all coming out. And I met Dr. Umar in the summer of 2013. I don't know if it was June or July, but the summer of 2013. And this week, I found out that Dr. Umar was supposed to open that school that he's been fundraising for at least a decade and change. He was supposed to open that school in the September of the same 2013. And 12 years later, no school, no class, not even one class has happened. And who is he giving reverence to? Orisha. I think he is initiated because something that he's doing where he's inviting people to his house to come and give blood or offerings to Orisha. Yeah, I think he's initiated. People could come and give offerings to my Orisha, but not certain things that would leave flies. Nope, that's for someone who's initiated. So do the Orisha show their value through Dr. Umar? No, they don't. No, they don't. They show that this is something to stay away from. There is such a sense of lack. People have lack. People of Caribbean descent, people who are from the diaspora have lack because of their recent ancestry. But let me tell you something. On this planet, every group is being targeted by demonic portals, media outlets, music, modern culture. They want us to feel a deep sense of lack, a deep lack of wholeness, because it's through that lack, through that not knowing that you can just sit with the Most High and that's enough, that we end up opening the doors to normalize. What I read to you isn't normal, but because I've been in the path, I have empathy for those on the path. One bag of lost people, even the ones that have had it in their generations for centuries, the Cuban people who born into it, the people from the Caribbean who don't even come from Cuba, that's running up under somebody else's thing but don't even know their own culture. We are experiencing a stripping of self and being targeted by demonic forces, by Babylon. That's the real Babylon. By Babylonian deities, Babylonian gods. These Orisha are Babylon. Do you understand? This is the perfect example of Satanism. An Orisha initiation is the perfect example of a satanic initiation. There is no way that you putting your mouth to an animal's head and drinking fresh blood, fire. No, seriously, fire. And so I'm going to pray on it. I'm going to pray on it because I didn't plan to read anything but that part because of what I said in the previous video. I'm going to speak to the Most High and ask him, should I read, but I can't read the whole document. It's 180 pages. But should I actually read more? Oh my gosh. Oh, wait. The Babalawo starts to pass the stones to me. It was pretty emotional. This was the first time I'd been allowed to touch them. The last ones they let me hold belonged to Oshun herself. Between handling the attains and singing for the Orisha, remember what I said, you go into a trance, and the drums, I started to feel very strange. Things started spinning around me like I was getting drunk, demon possession. It was like a big hand was squeezing my chest so that I couldn't breathe. I started to shake really hard. I couldn't help it. The singing got louder. The Babalawo started singing right next to my ear. Then I don't remember anything. The patron Orisha is being enticed and cajoled to enter into the novice's body. When the physical symptoms indicate that the Orisha has taken possession of the body, the Babalawo shouts, something, something. He tears off the head of a guinea hen and touches the bleeding neck to the novice's mouth. Yeah, that's my answer. Y'all said read more. So that the possessing Orisha can drink blood. So it's not one time. This is another occasion of these Orisha in the person. Same initiation, same day. Now they're drinking blood. I promise you, I'm gonna read the document. I'm going to find the things that I think I should read. We're gonna speak the truth and we're gonna shame Satan. How about that? How about that? Thank you so much for being here with me this evening. I will definitely, as soon as I've come off, I'm going to get the link. I'm going to post it in the description of this video. I apologize to and for every single person that I encouraged in any way to even look up the Orisha, much less to those who I encouraged to come for a reading, much less to those who I encouraged to receive Orisha, much less to those who I encouraged to have an initiation. I have one sister in, it's because of the Orisha why we had to split in the first place. Because I didn't know that she was mounted with a satanic agent. But I really feel it for her. I have no judgment towards her. I'll give you an example of why something like this happened. I used to see this girl online, and one day I went to an event and I saw her in person. I never knew anything about Orisha. I wasn't a yoga teacher or anything. I looked at her and I goes, "You're really sick." Meaning, I don't know if other people around could see, but I could see that she was physically sick. And she said, "Yeah, I really have been going through a lot of sickness, you know." This was 2012, 2013. Yeah, 2012, 2020. It was 2013 at the beginning of it. So I hadn't even started doing the African yoga yet. So a few years later, I started dating someone that was her friend, and I saw her again. I moved into an area where she would frequent, and I saw her again. And I remember asking her, like, "Are you still sick?" You know? And that discussion led to me saying, "You know, you should come to the Orisha for some healing." Because by this point, Orisha, the Most High has shown me that the reason why I could see the lady was sick is because I could help her. Sometimes it's just putting someone on a fast, changing the person's diet, and most importantly, going into prayer. But because I didn't know that about me, because the gifts, like what Eugenia mentioned to me today, the spiritual gifts are for the Most High. They're not for you to run up into no demonic thing. I am totally convicted that I could have helped that lady with the support of the Most High to restore her without her having to go into blood consumption. And that was where I was at a loss. I didn't know that then. But funnily enough, prior to the Orisha, I would have just tried to help the lady. I don't think I tried. I think I probably gave her some health tips when I first met her, but I have helped lots of people with health issues, with diet, with prayer. But for some reason, once the Orisha were in my life, I was amazed at the information coming out in the readings, etc. I did believe. And so I gave away my personal power that the Most High put in me to do his works to demons who ended up not only covenanting me, but covenanting people who I truly, truly, truly love. Will never stop loving this person. Never. People who I truly love, people who I truly care about. And so, in closing, I will say, in the name of the Most High, in the name of Yahusha, the Son of the Most High, I publicly, again, because I've done this before, I have renounced, and I denounce every form of satanic system, deity, demon, entity, tool, device in every age, in every realm, and in every timeline. From the beginning of existence to the end of eternity, I renounce the Orisha. I renounce every individual Orisha. I renounce divination, and I definitely renounce the idea that I need some supernatural, demonic, ancient force that's been stripping my ancestors and humanity at large of their own divinity for shortcuts, for being amazed, for being psychic or whatever they were doing. When you go for a reading, specifically these kind of readings, where there are deities involved, if it resonates, that's because demons can see you. They're supernatural. In Ifa, when you do certain initiations, you can now look at someone and see their entire ancestral line. You can just look at them and say, "I can see that your grandfather this. I can see that your grandmother that. I can see that your great grandfather," you can tell them things. And the other person may be like, "Wow, that's so blessed." That's not blessed. That's demonic interference. There are people who have gifts that don't rely on those things. I have gifts that don't rely on those things. We all, yeah, we all have gifts in different areas of our life: spirit, psyche, soul, mind, heart, and body. that do not need to be and should not be contaminated with demons who require you to drink blood, you to help them to drink blood. Like, have you ever heard of anything more sadistic? Come on, big 2025. Have you ever heard of? Isn't this disgusting? So I renounce everything that is not the Most High, that is not of the Most High, that is a weapon against humanity, a weapon against mankind. I denounce them in the name of Yahushua. And I give thanks and praises. Thank you, Almighty, for giving me the strength, determination, focus, passion to come online and to say this once again. And please, if you are an Ifa practitioner, don't be offended. I'm not attacking you, but I am burning out those demons that you're working with. Yeah, they're out of order. Like, over the course, I think I'll do a series, but it's not going to be like every next video is the Orisha. Every now and then we'll come back to the Orisha. They are bang out of order. They are destructive and they hate you. They hate you. That's the reason why they want you to literally be doing the things that they need to sustain themselves, like the blood. They don't love you. They hate you. They want to pull you from the natural grace that you had when you came into this planet as a child of a woman and of a man. They hate you. So fire, give thanks and praises. Like, I see you on both things. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Akusia says, hallelujah! Hallelujah! Give thanks and praises. If you're celebrating the Sabbath, if you're honoring the Sabbath, happy Sabbath. If not, have a blessed evening. Keep the Most High on your mind. May He stay with you, your families, and everything under your stewardship. And know, I am sure it is going to be a battle. But even if you've been initiated to like 10 of these demonic Orisha, there is nothing and no one superior to the Most High Yah. So from there's a will, don't let it put you off. From there is a will, there is a way. I wish you spiritual freedom. Not to be a free spirit, personal joke. Not to be a free spirit. I wish you spiritual freedom so you won't be anchored by the demonic ties, claws, and shackles of these beings that we call Orisha, and not realizing that they're agents of Satan. I'll see you soon. Thank you for being with me. Bless. Bye.